Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. I am going to provide the same warning that I did for the past 2 videos that I recorded. I am wearing a new mouth guard for TMJ. I'm still getting used to it. You might hear a bit of a lisp because of it. You might also see a little bit of a shine occasionally because of light hitting the mouth guard. Oh, also this mouth guard makes me thirsty because it dries my mouth out. So welcome to I think I called this section Crafting Through History. Most of this consists of books that I picked up to fill out this section, and then I'll be sort of spreading them out through a period of time and recording a video as I feel inspired to, when I feel like I've read enough to have something to talk about. So I've actually read a couple, but I'll start with this one. I read a little bit further into Esther Rudder's This Golden Fleece, A Journey Through Britain's Knitted History. I'm not very far along. She just picked the pattern that she's going to knit with before going on this, travelogue, or travel journey. I wouldn't say travel, that's a video, but this travel guide / trip through history of knitting. But she wanted to find a pattern to work on, and the pattern that she decided on was a Dale knitting pattern. And it's these particular gloves. And they even mentioned in the magazine where you can get the pattern where they worked it up based off of what it looked like, the finished object looked like from way back when. They found, one of these gloves, or 2 of these gloves, and it's a pair. And they back engineered it. They reverse engineered it. That's what I was looking for. They reverse engineered it to write the pattern to be more than a recipe so that the modern knitter could go, oh, this is what I do. So she was going to knit it in the traditional black and white because that was the yarn that she had. She was gifted this yarn that was undyed. It was just nice, natural yarn, and she found what she wanted to use it for. So I decided, hey, why not? I will knit that along with her. Now, it's not going to be now because I am currently trying to finish a whole slew of crochet animal donuts to put on the different plates for my grandma's birthday party toward the end of the month, and I need to focus all my crafting time on that. But once that's done, I will cast on the same project as her. So I did pick up that particular magazine. Guys, this is so much more than a magazine. This is really a history book. I am counting this in my reading because it has sections on a tribute to a knitting sorry, I can't speak. The Warner House bedspread. There's knitted carpet, masterpiece of the Holy Roman Empire. There's another article here. Lithuania's knitting tradition. Fancy dress for hands. Rosum mittens of Norway. So they have these really gorgeous ones. I don't think they have the pattern for it. No, it just talks about it. Oh no, they do have the pattern for that. That's cool. Needles, Music, Hand Knitters of the Dale. So this is the glove that I will be knitting with her. So they have the pattern, and apparently they reproduced an error the knitter put in there, which is kind of cool. They said you don't have to repeat the error if you don't want to. But my mom dyes yarn, and she let me purchase from her some of her bear yarn. And I already had these 2 skeins. So this will make up my gloves that I will be knitting along with the book. So I will be going on this journey with her. And I'm not worried about how fast I do it. I have to be sure to get the gauge that I need because sometimes my color can tighten up and it can be hard to get anything through, especially since I do have a my quinceañera ring that catches on everything. So I'd rather not have that get caught in the color work. So these gloves most likely will not be for me. It's more for the joy of knitting them. So yes, this was a book that I'm very excited about, not just because of the pattern, but because of the history sections. It has oldest knitted stockings they'll be talking about in here. I think they think that that's nail binding, if that's how I say it. Along the same vein, another thing that I snagged, it was really hard not to pick up all the Knitting Traditions magazines, because this one here, for one thing, I'm knitting this hat. I will knit this at some point. It's gorgeous. My sister's already kind of hinted that she wants that. This actually is a hat that I knitted. A designer designed this for our my mom and I, our knitting podcast, because I picked up all of her different patterns because I really liked her TM designs and her color work. So she said, hey, I'll design one for you guys. So she designed this Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And my hair's a mess, so I don't want to take it off. But I'm not sure if you can see the back. It's got... Okay, guys, don't laugh at my hair. You got the snowflake on top. You got the Pevensey children going through the wardrobe. And then you have Aslan. Let me get my hair back in here, because this was supposed to hide bad hair day. But the true reason for Tam, of course. At least until I'm able to braid my hair and wear it like she has it there. Okay. Bad hair day no longer exists, right? You can't see it, it's not there. Anyway, so I do plan on knitting at some point. But what interested me beyond the hat was it talks about how Kitchener and patriotism pushed knitting, discover Victoriana in 19th century manuals, and it has a section here about, well, it talks about Kitchener, the knitter who never was. He's Field Marshal Horatio Herbert Kitchener, first Earl of the Garter. Our first Earl of Kitchener, Knight of the Order of the Garter. Whew. Okay, that's up there. Knight of the Order of St. Patrick, Knight Grand Cross, Order of the Bath, Order of Merit, Grand Commander. Thing after thing after thing. The man was decorated. So it talks about Kitchener. And then this is an article I mentioned as well. Knit, Purl, Heal. Uncle Sam offers training to every man disabled in service. See that your man takes it. So... this is an old magazine. I guess they encourage the wounded guys to knit socks and things like that. Patriotic knitting bags and tools of the world wars. This particular issue had a lot of interesting articles. Going in circles, a history of knitting in the round. And then, let's see, Fair Isle knitting across space and time. On the Edge, talks about these particular rare sheep. And eventually does get to the patterns. But this one in particular is very article heavy. And has very interesting articles. So yeah, look forward to that as well. Let me put this back over here. Okay, so then the ones that are a little bit more Victorian. Let me move Golden Fleece back over here. Let's see. This one's a little bit later, but I didn't want to show this one. This one's more of a knitting pattern book. Forgot to put that back in there. Okay. So this is another one of the Knitting Traditions books. So it does have some history articles, which is why I have it in here. It doesn't have a ton of them, but it does have some. And this is a collection of all their Jane Austen knits. Or it has 27 of the patterns from their Jane Austen knits. Editions. They would release at different points of the year different Jane Austen Knitting Traditions magazines, and then they just collected them all together. So it has some really nice patterns in here. Maybe at some point when I get to that quarter again, I will knit one of these patterns. And like it has a section on where Jane lived. Other scenes, like I said, this one's not as article heavy, but it does have some. This is more of one that has to do with Jane Austen fashion. This is Dress in the Age of Austen, Regency Fashion. It's got a lot of smaller text, but it looks very goes on to like morning dress, church dress. You can see some of the paintings with the way they dressed. Sorry. Just look at that fabric there. Isn't that beautiful? So this should be interesting. Something I can definitely hit up when I get to quarter 3. It's quarter 3 next year. So this is an option for them, and it'll also still be in the crafting section. Going onward from that, this is going back to Victorian. So this is Needle Crafts from a Victorian work basket. I might start reading this one right away. So this takes over 200 designs for needlework, knitting, crochet, lace, and more, excerpted from the Girl's Own Paper, 1880 to 1890. And it says patterns, but it honestly makes me think of like old catalog entries, even though I guess these are what patterns looked like back then. I mean, you have these work baskets. Girls, oh, let's see, this is a bed satchel. Another work basket. Let's see. Oh, it looks like they have a hand screen, I guess, to block their faces from the fire so they wouldn't get tanned. I guess these are just like slippers to cover their shoes maybe when they're going out. A lot of these little like work bags. Baby's knitted boot. Oh wow, look at that. The child's bonnet. So it's a mixture of all the different crafts. Honestly, it shouldn't be a hard read. And it might be a nice break from some of the heavier stuff. And honestly, I just like looking at the pictures because it's very much of an era. And it's, I don't know, you feel like you're touching history a little bit because you're reading the same catalog that these girls would read during the 1880s and 1890s, which is kind of cool. So I will end up reading that. This was something, now this is craft, but we're moving a little bit away from the fabric and that kind of thing for a little bit. I found books, and it'll still go in the crafting section. These are books on scrapbooking. So, for example, Writing with Scissors, American Scrapbooks from the Civil War to Harlem Renaissance. So it covers like things that people found important to put in their personal scrapbooks. So scrapbooks reflect national divisions, newspapers and scrapbooks versus domestic life, waste paper valuable artifacts, Civil War scrapbooks, reuse, recycle, recirculate, strategic scrapbooks. So this will be, it's not as picture heavy as I hoped. I mean, there are pictures, but I was hoping there'd be more for a book on scrapbooking. But for one thing, I like the title of the book, Writing with Scissors. That's a very clever title. And it just looks like it'll be interesting. Now, again, this is Civil War era, so actually, wait. That is now. I could, if I wanted to, start reading this. I'm not going to. Text is really small. I don't see myself reading it this quarter. Maybe next year. And the other one that covers scrapbooking as well is, it's just called Scrapbooks. I know, really creative title. It's an American History Scrapbooks. Now this one does have a lot more of the pictures. And it's more picture heavy, and it has information on the side. But it just shows a lot of examples of what people consider important to put in their scrapbooks. Like this person apparently wanted to put this I'm assuming it's an actress. But yeah, different, how to make your scrapbook of movie, cowboy, and sports stars. So I guess this is how they used to do this. So this is a movie star. I thought she might have been. She looked familiar. And yeah, so this is This looks like this would be a quick one to read. Memoirs of my school days. Different, like, military-themed ones. So there's a lot of potential fun with this. Whether or not this gets it done this quarter will be debatable, but it is waiting for me for when I'm ready to read it. Now moving away, more back to the fabric again. Or head in that general direction, sorry. Okay, so this is called A Perfect Red, Empire Espionage and the Quest for the Color of Desire. So this is a little bit of a different way of approaching the craft ones. A lot of these that I've been mentioning have been very on the nose. The history of, you know, certain patterns, the history of scrapbooking. This is a little bit more of like a side. You know, yes, it's covering color, but it sounds like it's going to be not quite so localized, a little bit more of a wide global story. So this will be interesting. I know that some of these colors could be very hard to get, and you had to go through jump through all sorts of hoops to get specific colors. I believe certain kinds of blue were the same way. They came from a certain kind of bug that came up in the Michelangelo book. But I look forward to reading this. My mom dyes yarn, so this is something that when I saw this I thought of her. I was like, oh yeah, that totally counts as being in the crafting history section when I eventually get around to reading that. Now I only have a few more books left, which will be great because my jaw is getting tired. This one is the dress diary. Now this one's kind of cool. Oh, actually I could do this one now if I wanted to. I'll have to put that in my Victorian section. So, The Dress Diary, Secrets from Victorian Woman's Wardrobe by Kate Strasden. And so, it makes me think, you know, of like the quilting, where people put like, oh, this was my daughter's wedding dress. This was my baby's first this was my baby's christening gown. This is, you know, baby's first, I don't know, bib, whatever you have in there. And so they show these fabrics that this lady would put in her diary and talk about what each kind of thing meant for her, why you would want a fabric diary, and it's for this specific person. So I just found that this was going to be interesting. It looks like it'll be an easy read. So I will probably add this to my TBR. Whether or not I get it done this quarter will be another thing. But because I'm not going to get it done for October. That's not going to happen. But I'd like to maybe start it this quarter. But I'm not going to be brokenhearted if I don't, because then I know it'll be available for October next year. Okay, so this one was one I was waiting for when the others were coming in. The other yarny ones. So I had to keep an eye on the time. This is Adventures in Yarn Farming. 4 seasons on a New England fiber farm. So I had one in England, which was this golden fleece. Then I had one that dealt with Irish knitting. Particularly Irish Aran knitting. Oh, that reminds me. I was having a conversation online with someone. This is the sweater that I was talking about. I wish I brought the book so I could have gone through and seen which pattern, which cables were in this and what they said. Because I know I had some of the ones. I think, no, I don't think this one is the one that has all the really complex. I mean, I think it has the beehive in the back here, maybe. I'm going to turn around. Not sure if you guys can see. But my green one has a lot more complex cables even than this one does. I knit this one a while back, and the green cable one was one of the first sweaters I knit, because why start with a scarf when you can start with 3 sweaters? Anyway, yeah, I didn't knit a scarf until I had already knit several sweaters. I think I didn't knit a scarf until like 3 years ago. Oops. Because I just had no interest in it. I wanted to knit sweaters. That's the whole reason why I started knitting. But anyway, So I have English covered, Irish covered, and I've got some American covered. So there's a lot of fun pictures. It has all these cute pictures of like, ooh, that's a nice sweater. I don't like that collar though, it would drive me insane. I do love the cables on that thing though. But talks about getting the yarn to the mill. I didn't realize there are patterns in this. Well, that's cool. I thought it was just the history. I mean, it covers both, but I didn't realize I got to have patterns. That's exciting. So you have all these cute pictures of sheep. Cutting the apron strings. Huh. It looks like you had a recipe in here too. This book is the book that keeps on giving. Lavender harvest. Talk about hay day, so I guess getting the hay ready. Oh, I guess because it's covering through the years. Oh, it talks about dyeing yarn here. Look at him, isn't he cute? So yes, this will be a nice read whenever I choose to pick this up. I have to see what time of year it starts, because I should probably start at the time of year that the book starts. Let's see. It starts me in the spring, so I can start, maybe I'll start this off in the spring. That'd be fun. If I remember it that far from now. Okay, so my last book was actually a complete impulse buy. I can't remember, it was probably because I was looking at all these historical crafting books and this even got suggested to me. Oh, you know what? I'm trying to remember. Maybe I found this when I was looking for, I had found all these knitting traditions books, but my mom's primarily crocheter, so I was looking for crochet traditions books. But what popped up for me was Bead Crochet Snakes, History and Techniques. So I didn't know that this was a thing. I am not particularly interested in beading, like doing it myself, but this is a cool piece of history that I didn't know about. I have already started this book. I've got my Petite Créations, whether or not that's pronounced that way, I don't know. It's an Italian Etsy shop. She has the cutest magnetic bookmarks. I love this little dragon. But apparently these are traditionally from like the Balkans. Okay, Bead Crochet Snakes, History and Technique is a gold mine for those passionate about beadwork, scholars, and antique collectors. It's the only book to offer an extended, illustrated history of bead crochet snakes and 5 patterns for beaders who want to make their own snakes. I don't imagine I'll be making one, but I might surprise myself by the end. The book's extensive photos, clear charts, and detailed instructions make bead crochet snakes a must for anyone curious about the rich history of these wonderful objects. Bead Crochet Snakes illustrates how these beautiful shiny serpents fit into the rich tradition of bead crochet as practiced in Turkey and other parts of the Ottoman Empire. It also explains how the snakes were constructed, the fascinating story of snakes made by Turkish prisoners of war during World War I, and how to tell those snakes from others made later. Beaders can gain inspiration from the many photos of bead crochet items as well as make their own bead crochet snakes to exhibit or wear. Patterns are provided for a snake necklace with a loopy tail, a rattlesnake necklace, 2 matching bracelets, and a memory wire snake bracelet. The projects will also teach beaders an alternate stringing method, the bead single crochet stitch, increasing and decreasing beads, and crocheting on 2 sides of the foundation chain, and 2 methods of fastening on new thread. So quite a few snakes would have on the bottom here where it says Turkish prisoners, and this is the memory wire bracelet they're talking about. Now, I think this is one of the necklaces. Now, the one I like the most, perhaps, is the one they show at the beginning. I mean, there's a lot of pretty beady crochet in here. I mean, look at that. But there's a snake that she opens with, and it's called the Why Is Everybody Picking on Me? So, here's what the picture on the front looks like. Why is everybody picking on me? And this is another view of him. So apparently this snake shows more of the common negative sayings about snakes. So like they'll have snake eyes. I think if it was a snake, it would have bit me. If it was a snake, it could have bit you. Yeah. So I think that's cute. If I had that pattern, I probably would be tempted to do that one, because I think that's cool. But yeah, I look forward to reading this. There was a double draw. It was the fact that it was bead crochet, which I know absolutely nothing about. Well, a triple draw. Bead crochet, which I know absolutely nothing about. It was the fact that it goes into a history of crafting that I know absolutely nothing about, like as in like an area of the world where I know absolutely nothing about their crafting history. And then finally, I mean, has the snake element, which, like I mentioned, I was obsessed with snakes when I was a kid. I used to read the, different books about snakes. I would read about lizards too, but I didn't, they were just okay. I wanted to read about snakes. So I would like get out these big books on snakes from the library. I would read about how to take care of them. Like, some of the stuff still sticks in my head from how obsessed I was from like, oh gosh, it was like, it was up until I was like 10, and a little bit after that I was like just super into snakes, and some of that never really went away. I mean, I would probably not now go and chase down a snake or anything, but I still have somewhat of fondness for knowing about them. I think I partially liked them because no one else did when I was a kid, so, gotta be different. But anyway, yes, I am currently reading this, and I'll take my time on it because there is no limit, really. But I started reading it, I just was like, oh, this is so interesting. But yeah, that's it. My jaw is kind of tired. I probably am getting to the point where I need to, start thinking about putting my night guard in and let my jaw rest a little bit more. But yes, thank you very much for joining me today for Talia Nerds Out. The particular crafting, the history of crafting, I think is what I call this section. Particularly this crafting history of crafting, whatever the heck I'm calling it, you'll see it in the title. Thank you for joining me today for that. And yeah, I will see you when I next see you. Have a very blessed, whatever time of day it is for you. God bless. Bye.